Hey guys, welcome to the All Sports Pass Podcast North. My name is Eli. I am your host, and welcome back to another video where today I'm going to be doing the Week 6 review and the Week 7 preview. But before we get in this video, you already know I got to start off with the verse of the day. And today's verse comes from Matthew 11:28, and it says, "Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest." And also, guys, I just wanted to say this, that unfortunately, due to the effects of the hurricane, like in some portions of my area, most of these games were moved to different days. So that's why I'm not going to be having the other score slot this week. So I'm sorry about that, but hey, unfortunately, it just won't be on here this week. So yeah. Before we get in this video, leave a like, subscribe for more high school football content, and also, like I said on the last video I've done, please keep everywhere affected by this hurricane in your prayers, in your thoughts and prayers. There's too much destruction that I can't really talk about. I'm just feeling for everybody affected. That's all. All right, let's go on with the video. So, Week 6, Carter at Anderson County. I have to say, this was an expected score for me, honestly. Now, Anderson County, they've just been a machine this season. And to be honest, with it being a home game for AC, I know dang well it's going to be tough for a team to win in there. So, yeah. So, this was really kind of expected for me. And Carter, of course, scoring 7 in this game. And this game was on a running clock, which is a mercy rule, and I believe it's 30. I believe if it's a 30-point margin, then they start doing a running clock. I think last year it was 35. I could be wrong, but however, with that, this game was a win for AC, and AC is now 3-0 in the region. Excuse me, and they have. And because of that, they have South Dole, Fulton, and Gibbs to play. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens then. So, yeah. In this game here, I know I mentioned this on the show last week, that this game was going to happen. Well, unfortunately, due to the effects of the storm, this game was postponed to October 18th, as you all can see here. So, yeah. So, this game will probably be on the channel twice. So, yeah. If not, I'll probably just do a little pre-recorded version of it because I already, kind of talked about it briefly, but it could be pre-recorded. It could not. I don't know. We still have, I want to say, 2 weeks from this game. So it's going to depend on what we do, on what I do. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll wait and see. All right, then South Dole Central, and I have to say, this was expected. Now, this is a non-region game for both these schools, but I will say this, that I fully expected this one to be in the hands of Central because South Dole, I just think that, that they're still struggling a little bit. And now, hey, who knows? It's high school football. Maybe they can find something to turn around and give themselves a win before the end of the season, but however, I think unfortunately it's looking like another disappointing year for them. But hey, you never know. But however, if South Dole wants to qualify for the playoffs, of course, hold on, guys, I'm accidentally on the wrong team. Hold on. If South Dole wants to make the playoffs, then in my mind, it would. Sorry, guys. There we go. It took forever to load. They're currently 0-2 in the district, which they're 5th, and they're above Seymour. So, yeah. Now, for South Dole, I do think that the Seymour game is going to be important. Of course, not only is it a region game, but, and actually, they're actually going to be discussed here in a minute. But their next game is a region game, and if they. And of course, they'd also, which I think is a toss-up here, Seymour. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But, however, basically this win or loss here could mean that South Dual's chances at the playoffs are over. This with the win or loss here. So, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. All right, here's the game of the week, Halls at Powell. Unfortunately, there was not much media coverage of, I'm sorry, like, news coverage, because usually, hey guys, I'm just gonna be honest, I cover like 8 schools. And sometimes I have to, get I have to get like the highlights and stuff. So, unfortunately, but I will say this game was expected to be a Powell win, and of course you see right there. And now Halls is now 4-2 on the season with this loss, and Powell's now 5-1. And I do think that this was expected because Powell's also one of those, machine type, football teams in our area, in my area. So, yeah. Now I do think, of course, that that Halls. I think that we're going to talk about him here in a minute. But I do think that it's safe to say I think Halls is going to be the team to make the playoff, is in a safe position to make the playoffs, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. But yeah, and also going back on this, like, unfortunately, like, because I usually have to do like the highlights to just break it down, because hey, I'm a busy man. I not only do I have to like go to school and stuff, but and I mean by school, like, I'm in college, so. But I do think that, but I usually do the highlights because I can't really watch film for, like, all these schools. So, yeah, so that's really why I mostly do all the highlights. But, yeah, but however, I do think that this game was expected, though. So, yeah. All right, and here's week 7, and Halls at Heritage. And this is a region game. And let me tell you this. Halls is... this game is a win for Halls simply because Heritage is 3-3 on the season, but however, the teams they beat were South Dual, William Blount, and Carnes, and so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. But I really do not think that Heritage is gonna be in. I don't think Heritage is gonna be making the playoffs this year, unfortunately. Now, anything could happen. Like, now, in this region, there's only 5 teams in this region. So, say Heritage could pull the upset. That could pull an upset against one of these teams. That will knock someone out. And I think it would likely come down to Central and Heritage. So, it would just depend on, who all what happens. As, Halls is their next region game. And then they play Central and hold on, let me do my math here. In 3 weeks, so that pretty much means that if they win this game, so if they lose this game, it's fine because you can still beat Central and make it. But it's gonna be interesting. But I think Hall's is gonna be the better team here, and I think they're gonna win this one. And also, guys, I forgot to mention, like I do in a lot of my videos, that these are my predictions. These are what I think is gonna happen. So yeah. Then we got Carter versus Northview Academy, and let me tell you this. Excuse me again. Northview Academy they've shocked me recently. Like, they have. Now, of course, they're coming off a region win against Granger, but of course, they did lose a region game to Cherokee, and that could be the key because Northview still has to play Greenville and Elizabethton, and with that, because that's pretty much a loss now. Unless they can pull the upset, that's likely a loss for Northview. So now I do think that of course, that loss to Cherokee could mean that if Cherokee wins out in the region, because they've already played Greenville and Elizabethton, if Cherokee wins out in the region, then that means Northview could be in trouble. So yeah. Now, Carter did end Northview's 6-game winning streak last season, and I'm going to be honest. I think Carter's going to do it again. I think I'm going to give this one to Carter. So yeah. And then we got Fulton versus South Dual, and let me tell you this: this is another region game, and you know how I said it's an important game for South Dual. Well, let me tell you this: that if they lose this game, it wouldn't guarantee them an eliminated from the playoffs, but it pretty much would. But it pretty much means that they're not, that it's unlikely that they'll make the playoffs if they lose here. And the reason why I say that is because now, while they can, if they lose this game, then they'd have to win against Seymour and Anderson County. So because of that, it's going to be an interesting thing for South Dual, but I bet they're hoping to beat Fulton because if they beat Fulton, then they can and I likely think they're going to win over Seymour. But I do think that if they beat Fulton, then they beat Seymour, then they could make the playoffs. But I think it's highly unlikely. But you just never know. It's high school football. But the reason why I say that is because then they have to play Anderson County to finish up the regular season. So, of course, because of that, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, to say the least. But I unfortunately just do not think that this is that Fulton's going to win this one. So, yeah. All right, then we got Central at Oak Ridge. And I will say this, that Oak Ridge is one of the powerhouses in 5A for Tennessee. So, I'm sorry, in East Tennessee. So I will say this, that I really think that I think Oak Ridge is going to win this one because Central's not really had like as strong of a season that they want to have. So it's unfortunate, but I got Oak Ridge winning this one. So yeah. And now Campbell County Gibbs. But before we get into this, you already know this segment's sponsored. Every Gibbs segment is sponsored. So yeah, and thank you to PJ's Barbershop, and they're located on 3544 Neal Drive, Suite 101, Knoxville, Tennessee 37918. Call Pam at 865-548-0749 to schedule an appointment, or call Jackie at 865-243-5291 to schedule an appointment. Thank you for your continued support, PJ's Barbershop. And also Sierra Lynn Photography. If you want to schedule a session, DM Sierra on any of these accounts here. DM her at Sierra_343 or SierraLynn.photos on Instagram to schedule a session. All right. Thank you all for your continued support. Now let's get back to the Gibbs segment. So for Gibbs, it's really a like they're coming off a 49-0 win over South Dual, and then they went into a bye week. And now Campbell County is Max Prep says 2-5, so I'm going to say that. I can tell you this that I'm going to just do a little check real quick, because now it could be another team that I got Campbell County mixed up with, but I could be wrong, because sometimes Max Preps does mess up a little bit. So let me just check that real quick. But however, I do think that Gibbs coming in here, it is and it looks like they updated it. Okay, there we go. Wait a minute. Okay, sorry guys. So Campbell County is actually 2-3 right now, I believe, because it looks like one of the games on schedule is gone. Okay, so they won against Kings Academy, and they lost to they won against Daniel Boone, of course, last week. But, however, I do think that Campbell County, I think it's going to be interesting what they can do, but I just think that, that seeing the way Campbell County's played this season is going to be interesting, but I don't think it's going to be enough to do an upset on Gibbs, and I think Gibbs is going to lead this game 6-0. So I think this is going to be a win for Gibbs. All right, and we have Powell versus Carnes, and let me tell you this game here I think is a win for Powell, because Carnes, I think, is the weaker team, because simply, Carnes, they've not really been as strong, but hey, but I think coming up against powerhouse Powell, I think that Powell's going to win this one. So, yeah. All right, and we have Austin East versus Grace Christian. And let me tell you this, that Austin East last season did not beat this team. And, of course, Austin East only 3 wins, of course, last season came against Pigeon Forge. Then they came against Scott and Union County. Now, I do think that I think Grace is going to win this one simply because, I watched their performance on Rivalry Thursday this past week, and they went off and won that game. So so I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that Grace is going to win this one over Austin East. All right. Y'all know what it is. Time for the game of the week. Drum roll, please. Yes, I know that was a terrible drum roll. Anderson County versus Clinton, the Battle of the Bridge. And, man, I'll tell you what. This game does sometimes come in close. It was actually on Rivalry Thursday last year. And Anderson County only won 28-14, but given that game was at Clinton. Now, I do think that, of course, this game could be close, but I think it's going to be Anderson County winning. But I do think that, of course, it's still interesting to see how this game's going to go and everything, because this game is the game up in Anderson County. So, yeah. But like I said, I'm going to go Anderson County on this one. Now, it's a non-region game, so really the loser is not affected by this. So, yeah. And, alright, so I got for y'all tonight. If y'all like this video, give it a like, subscribe for more high school football content. And, yeah. Peace out. God bless and good night. And I hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Winner Pick Wednesday.